This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
Take us to kickoff.
Welcome into the student section. I'm Drew Martin alongside Jeff Nadeau. He's the big man on campus. We're going to be hitting on college football betting this Monday afternoon. Happy Monday to you. Also throw in some college basketball towards the end. We got Mr. College Basketball, big man on campus. Jeff, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today, bud?
I'm doing well, Drew. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. What's on your mind overall? Did you want to get anything off your chest in the beginning, or get right into the games, man?
Yeah, I didn't have a good week. I'm 0-5 this past week. I haven't had a good college football season, but you know what, Drew? I ran my numbers today in college and the NFL combined, and I'm 16-17 on the season. So obviously, not good, not bad, but I have a lot of work to do. College hoops has started out slow, so I got to get out of this funk. I'm seeing things. I'm just having some, I think, pretty bad luck, man. I mean, I've had a couple games here, Drew, this year where I'm on a total and a penalty's called back that should take the total over. And I had a game on Saturday, Drew, where there were 62 incompletions and the game doesn't go over 51.5. I mean, just some ugly stuff. I mean, I'm just I feel like I'm making the right plays. It's just weird shit is keeping them off. And some have been bad plays. So, yeah, I mean, all you can do is keep moving. But, NFL has been strikingly decent, so we'll take it for what it is.
Did you say you're 16-17 in college basketball?
No, I'm 16-17 in NFL and in college. So, I'm
In
low
college
volume.
football, okay.
Yeah, I'm low volume, and yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But it definitely been tough. Some of these games, weird games.
This might make you feel better, big man. The biggest play I had, both personally bet and for the clients, I had the under in Oregon, Utah, and the over was 56.5. Do you know what it landed on?
I want to say 57.
57. I believe there was 16 seconds left on the clock. They could have kneeled it, and it was human decision at the end. There was also a fumble at the 3-yard line earlier where it pretty much gave 7 points.
Yep.
It was a tough one, man. It was a tough one.
No,
So,
that's brutal. I mean, I'll share a quick story. I had late night. It was about 1:00 in the morning. I had over 61.5 in Nevada, Colorado State. Now, Nevada going into the fourth, Drew, had, I think, 49 points. It was 49-0 going into the fourth quarter. Colorado State scored. We were at 55. 2 minutes left. Colorado State's going in. They score a touchdown. It's called back on a penalty. 2 plays later, they kick a field goal, make it 49-10, and that was that.
Ooh, man, kicking a field goal with that kind of game, it's almost like they usually go for that,
Now also, Donnie Wrightside had Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State. Same situation. They kick a field goal with about a minute to go, down 40. And we lost that total as well.
Yeah, that Arkansas State game.
When you're ready to knock a handicapper, jump on a handicap, I can name 5 or 6, Drew, opportunities this year I've had like that, where teams are at the 2-yard line and they decide to kneel it, and I have to relook at some things, but yeah, it's ugly.
It happens from time to time. It's part of the business. Hopefully, you'll be on the other side of some of those, big man, as will I. But hey, let's give the people what they want. We got some action weekday night action in the MAC conference. Also some Conference USA here, in a Friday night AAC battle between Memphis SMU and we're talking Syracuse Notre Dame. That one's in Yankee Stadium, isn't it, big man?
I believe it is, yeah.
Did you like that when college football plays in like baseball stadiums, like they played in Wrigley one time? You like that stuff or no?
Yeah, I think that's fine as long as the depth perception's good and there's it's not like I don't understand this stuff where basketball teams will play in like a Petco Park or something. I don't seem to understand the point of that, but yeah, a football stadium where it's necessarily outside and they just change it, and as long as the field's big enough and everything, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Different dynamic, brings in I guess, little scenery. But this one, I believe, is at Ball State. And it's kind of a theme here. We got the better team, or at least more talented team, going on the road in Maction, all but maybe one game here. We got Western Michigan on the road at Ball State. This is Tuesday night action, 7 o'clock. Looks like we're seeing 7.5 Western Michigan laying on the road, 59 the total. I think Western Michigan's the side here, big man. 7 in the hook. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia had a lot of time to think about their pathetic performance against Ohio. They're off a bye. They had 6 turnovers in that game, gave up 59 points. It was just a mess of a football game. Both of these teams not really good. But you look at Western Michigan, up until recently, losing John Wassink, they'd actually been playing pretty well. But Wassink's really kind of the straw that stirs them. He's not coming back anytime soon. And Caleb Ellaby, I'm not really sure what you have out of him. As far as Ball State, it's a similar situation for them. They're dealing with Riley Neal being out. We know how important he is. You look at Ball State, Drew, they're giving up almost 5 yards a carry, 215 rushing yards a game. I'd have to figure after last week's mess against Ohio, I have to figure Western Michigan's going to be much more inclined to keep the ball on the ground this week, go after that bad run defense. You also have to look at that Ohio game. There were some weather problems in that game, so obviously that hurts as well. I think in this game you obviously have a little bit better situations as far as no rain or anything like that. So I'd expect WMU to keep the ball on the ground. I think they get the best of Ball State and get the job done here.
Yeah, you bring up Western Michigan playing a lot better under Wassick. They had 6 wins in a row, lost the last 2 to Toledo and Ohio, both in blowout fashion. I do think, Ball State is off of a bye, so given the defense extra preparation time, stuff like that. I also kind of like the under here. I haven't bet it personally, but sitting at 59, 2 teams that I wouldn't consider very good. I usually kind of correlate that with the under, especially with probably the lesser talented team having a bye week, getting extra time to prepare for the opposing offense. But do you have any opinion on the total here, big man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean, I just think you have to look at the one big point of contention, what I said. 615 yards Ball State's given up over the last 2 games. You have Bellamy. You have guys that can run the football for Western Michigan. You don't have necessarily a capable quarterback either. I think they put him in decent situations, run the football, make him throw short throws. Weather's not a problem here. So Ball State's pretty bad. I mean, this team's given up 40 or more points in 3 straight games, 50 or more in 1 of those games. So this is a team that's really kind of fallen by the wayside. And it's not like you have Riley Neal to fall back on. This team's also turned the ball over 10 times over the last 3 games. At least when you have Riley Neal, you can expect, okay, but at least we can maybe move the ball or something. With Drew Plitt at quarterback, it's been pretty much a house of horrors. Drew Plitt's pretty bad, man. I think Western Michigan gets back to kind of some winning ways this week, and wins by a double digit.
Good stuff there on the first one, big man. Checking in on the chat box. What's up, Ryan? Bookie Smasher, Ryan Gosling. What's up, boys? Arkansas 17. We're going to be talking some college basketball, if that's what you're talking about. Central Florida let me down. It let me down too, man. That was a tough one against Navy. Big man, did you see that UCF Navy game?
I did see the UCF Navy game. It's I think it's something we talked to you and I. It's I think that's why UCF Navy is such an interesting team, because they don't really ever give up, Drew. That's one thing you always have to respect about them. It kind of seemed like maybe they had, but they're 2-8. They haven't given up. They're still hanging around in games. Also, it's not been a good week for the American Conference. I mean, you have some close calls in football. You also have UCF basketball lost yesterday at the Florida Atlantic at home. It's been kind of a weird week for them. They've had some tough losses this week. So, I mean, Houston lost over the weekend football to the Temple Owls. So this conference has been odd. But, yeah, Navy fought. Got to give them respect for it.
They did get some good news. You see College Game Days going to Orlando for the UCF Cincinnati game?
I did see that. Good for them.
That's pretty cool. Are you a fan of Daniel Tosh by any chance, big man?
comedy for me, Drew, is really, it's really kind of. I only like certain people. I mean, Tosh is decently funny, but I don't know. I mean, he could be a bit offensive, kind of weirdly offensive. Yeah, I don't mind him. Why?
Yeah. I mean, I was
I
just
know he's
thinking for
from.
their celebrity.
I think he went there.
Exactly. I was thinking for their like celebrity guest picker, he'd be a good one. No, can you think of anybody else that'd be better? UCF.
Well, I think the concern with Daniel Tosh would be, obviously it's a Pete Davidson question marks recently, and comedy's not really looked at right now very well. So I don't know. Maybe you're worried about what he might say. Him and Lee Corso. I mean, Lee Corso is quite old, so maybe he makes they suppose say something they shouldn't. As far as who I would pick, that's not a bad one. I'm guessing they'd probably go more sports related. I would think maybe like a basketball player that played there, or someone like that.
Dante Culpepper, something like that.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean AJ Boye or something. I don't know. Maybe an NFL player or something. I'm trying to think of someone famous that went there. They always like kind of go a country theme. So maybe Eric Amarola. He's an NASCAR driver. Maybe they pick him. I think he's involved in the chase right now. So maybe they go that way. That's a good question, Drew. Not one I think about often, but I guess we'll have to see.
All right, man. Well, Eric in the chat box saying Buenos tardes, Eric. Rafael, the producer, he speaks Spanish as well, if that's who you're talking about in the chat box. Let's get back to the games, big man. We got Buffalo, Ohio, 66 the total. The Bobcats -2 at home. These are two good MAC teams here. I'm having a tough one going at this, big man. Do you want to have first shot, Buffalo, Ohio? I kind of think Ohio's the side here.
Yeah, I'm gonna look towards Buffalo here. I think this is the game that it really means a ton. This is a big game for Buffalo, and I think this is the game where I think you look at kind of coaching and look. I like Frank Solich. Don't get me wrong, but I look at this Buffalo team, and I just think they're better overall. I like Leopold. I like what their quarterback can do. They're very good against the run for the most part. They covered 8 of 10 this year, 6 straight in conference. I just think they're the better football team. I think there'll probably be points in this game. I think it could probably be a shootout, but I think Buffalo are better overall. I like them defensively, and I don't like Ohio on the defense, man. I think Jackson can kind of pick them apart. But I have a feeling this turns into like the Miami, Ohio, Buffalo game where, it's just kind of back and forth. This could be a great game. I'm really looking forward to this on Wednesday night.
Yeah, this is the best game on the slate in terms of action. We got Buffalo winning, 5 straight ATS, 8 of 9 ATS. Ohio also going on a run here, 4 of their last 5 cashes. So a lot of people that are betting these two teams have won a lot, which kind of makes it an interesting handicap to see where the line's going to go. It probably stays about the same. We got Maction, midday week, Buffalo, a full week to prepare, I believe. So being the road team, it shouldn't hurt them too much. I think Ohio's the side, though, being at home. Buffalo, this big run, I guess, their quarterback's good. It's not the most accurate passer, though. And Ohio can run the ball, so I'd go with the Bobcats -2 under the field goal. FAU North Texas 61.5. North Texas -3 at home. This FAU team, big man. I think I'm 0-2, maybe 0-3 on the year, capping them. So I have no interest in actually betting an FAU game. They look good one week, they look bad the next. Got blown out by Louisiana Tech, then blowout FIU. Nobody really saw that game coming. How do you look to bet the Owls in the Mean Green?
Well, I got to be honest, Drew. I think there's points in this game. I mean, you look at what Florida Atlantic's been able to do. They've really started to get it going on the ground. I mean, Devin Singletary's been pounding the football. And I think a lot of people look at North Texas and say, oh, this team can stop the run. Look at their numbers. But, Drew, look at this schedule. If you really faced a potent rushing attack like Devin Singletary can give you, the Conference USA is not known for having great rushing teams. You look at all season. I mean, the one team they faced that can run the football, UCF, shoved 239 down their throat. The one team North Texas played that could run the ball was UAB, and they shoved it down their throat. So, both these teams have trouble stopping the run, and what North Texas is going to do is throw the football. They have a great quarterback, Mason Fine. He can chuck the ball around. I just think both these teams kind of go back and forth. I don't think anyone's going to stop anyone, because the one thing North Texas does well, I don't think FAU can stop. And I think North Texas is a bit skewed, defensively against the run. When you look at really everyone they played, none of them are really potent rushing attacks. You're going to get one this week, and they've been a lot better against running the football with Johnson at quarterback and Rafe Peavy and Singletary.
Big man, we got a Friday night matchup in the AAC, Memphis SMU. I'm thinking a lot of points here, man, and it shows in the line. BOL Bet Online just came out with a 75 as the total. Memphis -8. Memphis the stronger side for sure, but on the road here, midweek game. Does that affect your handicap? You still like the Memphis Tigers to cover here?
Well, I wrote down here, Drew. Not sure there's a total high enough. That's exactly what I wrote down. And I don't think there is. I mean, 66-45 last year. Ben Hicks continues to swing it around. Memphis has scored 47 or more points 6 times this year. They're a team that looks lost defensively as well. I think, Drew, sometimes I'm starting to realize that I think maybe I just need to stop outsmarting myself. Some of these games that just scream points have screamed points. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I think this one will, as long as weather looks good down in Dallas. I'm hastening to think that there's not 80-plus points in this game.
What about oh man, his name's slipping the SMU head coach.
Chad Moore. Oh no, he's at Arkansas now.
Chad, no.
Sonny Dykes.
Sonny Dykes, my boy. But you don't like him, do you?
No, I don't like him. He's Here's the thing about Sonny Dykes. He's I think from an offensive standpoint, he's not a bad coach. I think he's actually quite good, but he doesn't care about defense at all. And when you're a head coach, sometimes you have to care about both. And I'm experiencing that now in Philadelphia with Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson just will not run the football. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't like doing it. In this case, Sonny Dykes just really has never cared about defense. And you look at the fact that with Jared Goff, he still couldn't win anything. With Davis Webb, he couldn't win anything. You look at weather, Thursday and Friday. I mean, very nice. 60 degrees, limited wind. This should be a wild game.
Big man, we got one more game here on the docket, college football, then we can open it up and also get into college basketball as well. This one from Yankee Stadium in New York. Syracuse, Notre Dame, 66.5 with the Irish laying 9 at home. Looks like this one being in New York, I haven't checked the weather yet. We're also talking on Monday, so by Saturday it could be a lot different. But how do you look to bet the orange and the Irish here, big man?
Yeah, weather's not going to be too bad. I mean, you're going to have temps in the high 40s. I mean, not too much wind. It's not going to be bad. No rain, so not going to be too bad. I think obviously Syracuse is good. We know that. They've been very good on the road, covering 10 of 14. But you have to think with Ian Book back, it's going to be tough for Syracuse to get stops in this game. You only have to lay 9 here. You don't have to lay 16 or something. I think Notre Dame kind of shreds Syracuse, and this is a pretty good defense. I think Notre Dame at this point is kind of well aware of what they have to do. But people also say, well, I mean, all they have to do is win. So maybe that's just all they care about right now. It's an interesting game. I just kind of feel like Notre Dame's a bit better than anyone they've really faced other than Clemson. And Clemson kind of, they play Clemson well, but they always seem to play Clemson well. Can they go out of conference on the road and beat a team that's top 4 right now? I think this is going to be a big step up as far as defensively for them. Notre Dame's real good defensively, and I don't think they can stop Ian Book. They've showed time and time again they can't defend anyone.
Yeah, Syracuse has had a tough time, or actually been very good.
We lose Drew?
Step up.
And we lost you for a second. What'd you say, Drew?
Oh, I was just going to say, you got me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just saying Syracuse was on a good streak there. 3 wins ATS, but before that, lost to North Carolina and Pittsburgh. Okay. Thanks,
right, and let's remember, Drew. look, they played NC State, who can't stop anybody. They beat Wake, who can't stop anybody, and they beat Louisville, who, I mean, they're one of the worst defenses in the country. So, again, I mean, this is a big step up. You've already lost to Pitt. You've already lost to North Carolina. You've already lost to Clemson. I mean, Notre Dame's real. I mean, and this is a road game. It's not in the dome. It's outside against a good defense and a quarterback that's just shredded every opponent he's played.
You think Notre Dame will make the playoff, big man?
I do. I don't think there's any way they get kept out. I don't think they're going to lose the final 2 games, and they don't have a conference tournament, so or a championship game. So, yeah, I think they're definitely in the playoff. How good they are is a question. I don't know, but you have to remember, Drew, they're always going to have public bias. I mean, they're a nationally biased team. They don't win anything, but they are definitely a team that's biased against. And you look at a team like Washington State or Oklahoma. While Oklahoma has a little bit of a national stature and stuff, they're not going to get in over. I mean, I even think let me ask you, Drew, if Notre Dame, let's say they lose to USC, I mean, are you really not going to put them in over Washington State or Oklahoma?
I don't know. That'd be a tough one, man. It really would, because the Pac-12 didn't get in last year either. You got to start thinking from a business aspect. You got to start worrying about eyeballs and making sure people are still interested in your sport. And if you start excluding full conferences year after year after year, that's not good for the sport.
Well, the problem is, Drew, the sport is hurting itself by continuing this disastrous playoff situation they have. I mean, this is a terrible system. It's not good enough. Nobody cares about it. I mean, I guess the schools care about it, but the lay fan doesn't. Get an 8-team playoff. Get 10. Get 12 teams. Get more teams involved. Have it like any other competition on earth, Drew, has a playoff system. Why is this one the only one that can't figure it out?
I don't know. It's just the structure of it. It's a real weird thing. Real
Why?
tough.
Because we don't want to take away 2 crap games against Citadel and UMass. I mean, who cares about those games?
I don't. I can't. I don't have an answer for you, big man. I mean, it's tough, but they need to do something. To go to 6 games, go to 8 games, something, and also, putting 2 SEC teams in and leaving other conferences out. That's not the way to do it either. Even I don't care if they are better. It's just it's not good, And that's
Drew,
coming from an SEC guy.
You look at one sport, college basketball, who has a perfect tournament. You have a team. You have a sport in college football that has possibly the worst system in the world as far as sports playoffs are concerned. I mean, there's no reason that it should continue like this. There just isn't.
Yeah. Big man, before we get to college basketball, I wanted to ask your opinion. Do you have any shocking things you want to throw out there? Because I got one. I think UCF goes down this weekend, man.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think Cincinnati gets them.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, at home, you got that game day stuff. Shocker? No. I mean, I haven't looked at every game yet, so I can't really say I have a shocker just yet. But listen, I thought the shocker last week, Drew, was the fact that you gave Boise State points at home against Fresno State. I mean, did I not hit that on the head that Fresno was a fraud?
Yeah.
And they were a complete fraud. They had played nobody. I mean, seriously. As far as a surprise, no, I don't think there's going to be many. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if I think Duke can give Clemson a game. That could be interesting. Duke's a tough team. I mean, they're good defensively. They have a good quarterback. They're well coached. That could be an interesting game.
Yeah, I think so too. And I wouldn't put too much stock into UNC keeping it close, because I think UNC is a lot better than they were in the beginning of the season, getting all the injuries back. So I don't know if they could beat them. I just think talent is too big of a discrepancy, but really well coached team. Daniel Jones needs to play better though, the quarterback. I don't think he's playing up to what at least I thought he could be playing at the beginning of the season.
Also, I want to put this out there quickly about a team right now that's really having some major issues. This Colorado State Ram team, they are really struggling, Drew. I mean, they are terrible on offense, just horrendous. Their defense is shocking. And I spoke with a friend of mine in the business that lives out in that area. He goes to their games, and he said they're really concerned about this week's game against Utah State. They're talking about worried about hanging 60 on them. This Utah State team is really good. Colorado State is shocking. They can't even move the ball. I mean, I watched that against Nevada. Nevada's great, but you should be able to score some points against Nevada. I mean, I urge anyone, if you literally have an hour, just sit there and watch how poor this Colorado State team was on offense. It was really unreal. I mean, they are awful. Colin Hill is terrible. And Utah State is a freight train right now. They are an absolute freight train.
Big man, do you look at like ratings, like Sarragan ratings and those type of ratings in college football?
Can't say I do. Sagarin rating. No, I don't.
Yeah, I was looking at them just to kind of glance at them this morning, getting ready, for the week and betting it. And I saw that he didn't have Utah State ranked in the top 25. And that's when I stopped putting much time into I'd never really did. But I was like, this is ridiculous to not think that they're a top 25 team. Like, what's going on here,
Well, I think for him, it's probably very similar to, and I want to make a comment about that. I think he can be onto something in a way, because the Mountain West is, I mean, frankly, Utah State. Let's look at what they've done, Drew. They beat They lost to Michigan State first game of the season. They beat New Mexico State, Tennessee Tech, Air Force, Brigham Young, UNLV without Armani Rogers, Wyoming, New Mexico, Hawaii, San Jose. I don't see Nevada there. I don't hear San Diego State there. I mean, seriously, who have they really beaten? I mean, this is like being an 8th grader and playing 3rd graders in basketball. Of course you're going to beat them.
I mean, they hung tough with Michigan State.
Yeah, but they didn't. The Michigan State's not good, and they lost. I'm not knocking Utah State. I think they're impressive on offense, but I mean, it's like it's kind of like beating up on kids younger than you. It's not really fair to them and you. I mean, I get, and I respect the Mountain West, but when you look at these teams like a Fresno, you really have to peel back the onion and see, why aren't they getting the respect they should? Because they don't play anybody and they're not beating anyone. And this is the exact thing you say to like any kind of team like this. But Utah State's going to have a big game, that final game of the season against Boise. It could be a similar situation to what we saw, Drew, with Fresno. Will Boise be a dog again at home? I think they could be. If they beat up Colorado State this week, how can you not make Utah State a favorite over Boise?
I guess just using the philosophy they haven't beat anybody.
Yeah, but you're not going to do that. That's not what they don't. They're just going to number it at 3 because this is the same situation as Fresno. I guarantee Utah State's like a 4-point favorite in that game. And it's going to be the same situation on, do you believe Utah State is legitimate? I mean, I don't know if they are, because some of the teams they've beaten are shocking. What team on this schedule is any good that they beat? Are any of those teams I mentioned going to make a bowl game? Any of them?
Air Force?
No.
Air Force?
Oh, maybe,
no?
yeah, maybe Air Force. That's a good point. Air Force is, what is their record? I want to say I think they're like maybe 1 win, or they're 4-6, Drew. Air Force is the best team they played. 4-6. And they've avoided Nevada and San Diego State. So, if you're a Utah State fan, just remember that.
That would be a good one to bet. Right now, if the number was what, Boise -3, all else equal, who would you bet?
There's no way Boise's a favorite.
You think it's Utah State on the road, -3?
I think Utah State's 4. That's what I would.
I'll take Boise in that.
I would too. I agree with you.
Okay.
I think it's
I
mean, when have they been tested, Utah State? They've not been tested in any of these games. They're that disinterested because they're playing, Connecticut School of the Blind and Little Sisters of the Poor, in Calvary Church down the street. I mean, that's who they're playing every week. It's disinterested. You could just show up and beat those teams. San Jose State are horrible. So just remember that stuff.
Yeah, Hal's saying Utah State will put up 60 easily on Colorado State. I think Big Man and I both agree. Hey, Nolly is throwing out here, took a shot at Notre Dame to win it all. It brings up a question, Big Man. Do you think now is a good time to kind of sell high on Alabama? You know, if you just kind of take the field to win the national championship, what are you getting, plus 200?
Yeah.
And that's any team.
Well, yeah, I definitely, I don't know. I mean, they're just so dominant. I mean, they literally have not lost. I mean, they've won every game by 22 or more points, Drew. I mean, it's not even really been close. I guess you're hopefully, maybe you're banking on the fact that Tua Tagovailoa gets injured. I mean, I think without him, I mean, you're definitely alive and it. But, yeah, I don't see it. But I wonder who can give them trouble. I think Clemson surely could, but that's about it. I think they could. If it's Clemson, Alabama on a neutral field, I still think Alabama's, I don't know, 7 probably.
Yeah, that's about what you'll see it in Vegas, 7 or 8. And that's what you're banking on. I mean,
Go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking that's what you're banking on. You're banking on, let's just say for the sake of argument, the 2 teams that are in, Notre Dame and Clemson, most likely. So let's say they play Notre Dame the first game without Tua, hopefully, if you're betting it this way. Going up against Notre Dame and then Clemson with a plus 200 on either one of them winning. I don't know if that's too terrible of a bet. That's why I thought maybe kind of sell high right now.
I don't either. And I wonder, I mean, you look at Alabama. I mean, Drew, is it conceivable to think that, let's say Tua Tagovailoa gets injured, right? And they play Auburn in the last game of the season. Oh, no, they get Georgia and Auburn. I mean, it's conceivable. Who knows I mean, I don't think it's a guarantee. I mean, it's a guarantee on paper with Tua Tagovailoa, but if Tua gets injured, which he has recently, those 2 games are a real toss-up at that point.
The problem with that, though, is I think that they could lose to Auburn and still get in, or lose to Georgia and still get in.
What if they lose both games?
Well, then they're out. But I don't know. It's Alabama, man.
It's probably not going to happen, but hey, you never know.
Yeah. Zeke saying nobody beats Alabama. I mean, yeah, that's what the chalk says too. So it's tough to make money, though, betting it that way.
I wanted to ask you something. I was reading an article. I want to see the Action Network put it out. I wanted to see what you thought about this. They put out a hypothetical spread for each NFL team against Alabama, and I wanted to see maybe you could figure some of these out.
Okay.
Okay, so what would Arizona be a favorite over Alabama? What would be the line in that game?
I think it would be a lot. It would be more than I would take Alabama. I'm guessing, hypothetically it'd be like 20-ish, maybe 25-ish. Okay, 30.5. I think Alabama, man. I'd take Alabama.
Is there any team in the NFL that you would say I'm guaranteeing they would beat? Is anybody?
Guaranteeing they would beat? No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Is there anyone that would stay within 20 points again? Is there any team they play? So you think they'd cover against Arizona? It was the 30-point number.
Yeah, a 30-point number. I would be betting Alabama plus 30 against Arizona, against Oakland, against possibly the New York Jets. Buffalo. Yeah, I would be taking Alabama plus 30.
Would you take 35.5 against Cleveland?
Yeah, I would. Would you?
I would too. Yeah, I would. Would you take 35.5 against the Nick Mullins-led 49ers?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree. Okay, here's another. Would you take 36.5 against the Brock Osweiler-led Dolphins?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we'll keep it going. How many points do you think Alabama could put up against the Buccaneers, who are arguably the worst defense in the history of the league?
See, that's really tough.
Keep in mind,
put the ball in the end zone.
I mean, how many points would there be in that game? Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson against Alabama, and there'd be 80 points in that game. That'd be a wild one. All right, let's
way
go down
I
to the
look at
bottom.
All right.
Okay, against the New England Patriots, hypothetical spread, what do you think it is?
42.
49.5. So they're basically pricing the Patriots as if Alabama was playing like Alabama A&M or something. That's the difference between the two teams.
Yeah, that's I don't think it's that much. I really don't.
The Saints are 49.5 as well.
Big man, I mean, Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, 8 p.m. kick, Alabama versus the Oakland Raiders. If I had to take money on both sides, I would set the line at like 14.5. I really would.
And I would take Alabama. Sure.
Really?
Give me Tua against the Raiders. I'm good with that.
Oh, man, the hypotheticals are fun. Alabama will get smoked versus an NFL team. Daryl, a lot of people agree with you. I just think that the top echelon college football teams, they have first rounders on the team. They have a lot of NFL players on the team. Yeah, they're younger, but I don't think a lot of people factor that in.
I don't think they would get smoked against the Bills, the Raiders. I don't think they would smoke Alabama. I don't think they would. At full health in Tuscaloosa, I don't think.
Yeah, you got to remember, it's Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. That's a hell of an atmosphere, you know? All right, big man, we said we would spend 20 minutes on college basketball. We're not going to have that much time. But, dude, I want to just talk to you about kind of betting college basketball overall. How's your season going so far?
I'm 0-3 so far, actually. I've only had a couple bets, but early first week is tough, and I want to point this out, Drew. Last year, I had a historic season. I actually started out 2-5 last year, so I don't put a lot of stock into it, but it's tough the first week because you do not have any statistical data. You're really going off, prediction. What you think's going to happen, and you're seeing that early on. I mean, with some of the stuff, some of the lines are inflated. Look at yesterday with Army and Duke. I mean, Duke was a 40-point favorite in that game. That's a lot of points to lay on a Sunday, on Veterans Day against a military school. That's for the record. And Army's not a top 20 low team in America. They're probably like around the 250th mark. So that was a bit too high. The books are kind of right in the same realm as you, and they're trying to decipher things. It's catching up on information that maybe you didn't remember. And it's looking for spots like tonight with, for instance, Southern Illinois, Buffalo. You have a Buffalo team off an upset win in overtime that's got to go on the road again and face a senior-laden team in Southern Illinois. Line hasn't moved an inch. The Salukis are good. Armand Fletcher's terrific. They have a great coach in Barry Hinson. This is a tough spot for Buffalo. This is the spot where I think as a bettor, you have to be willing to say, another thing, Arkansas, they're facing UC Davis tonight. If you know anything about UC Davis got pounded in both games so far, both at home. Now they're going to go across the country into an SEC gym. People are going to also bring up, well, Arkansas almost beat Texas, and that game doesn't mean anything. Those games are thrown out. This is a game that they've circled and they're going to be ready for. It still doesn't get away from the fact that Mike Anderson's team's not good defensively. It's just kind of figuring out what's real and what's not. Is Pittsburgh an improved basketball team? They made some necessary steps. They have a new coach. But now you're laying points at home against a decent Troy team. So you're trying to figure out what's real and what's not real, and that makes it difficult. Is Illinois-Chicago a better team than what we saw in Game 1? Because the other team they played, Notre Dame, had 20 more fouls than they did. Is Illinois-Chicago better? I think they are. Is Duquesne what we think they are? Are Long Beach State as bad as 15 points at Arizona State? They always play a tough out-of-conference schedule. There's so many things, Drew, that you have to kind of weed through, and sometimes you just want to maybe wait a game or two and get some statistical data.
Big man, I love that you brought that up because I've noticed the last 2 years, and college basketball has really been my best sport. I've learned a lot from you. Also, a guy I used to work pretty much for Andrew Lang. He does a lot of college basketball, trying to learn as much as possible. And I've noticed that the beginning of the seasons have gone rough for me. So I've kind of held off in the beginning of the season here. And guys, we got this the emblem on the bottom here. It's for the SBR poker tournament presented by SBR and Youwager. A lot of SBR personalities on it. Big Man will be on it as well. So click the link below if you want to sign up for that, and it's free and over $1,000 in prizes. So check that out. Really cool thing SBR and Youwager are putting on. But Big Man, yeah, college basketball handicapping. I've really slowed it down. I haven't even released the play yet. This week it's on the board. I've been doing some research here and just haven't gotten to it because of what you've been saying. Just holding off on it. One game that I did want to bring up is Vermont, Kansas. Is Vermont still as good as they used to be last couple years?
Well, listen, they're always well coached. John Becker's a great coach, and he's a guy that is always going to have his team prepared. And if you actually remember last year, this is actually a bet I won early in the season. I actually took Vermont in this game last year. They seem to play Kentucky every year, or Kansas or Kentucky every year. So they're a team that can go in and they're not scared to, play a team like this. They're not as good. They lost Trey Bell Haynes, who was their best player last year. They still have the Duncan brothers. They still have Anthony Lamb, who is a very good player. He's a guy that will be one of the top players in their conference this year. But they're not as deep as they were last year. Kansas, obviously, if you know, they go very deep. I especially with the way Kansas struggled defensively, I think they'll welcome this team in. Obviously, they're better than they are. And I think you want to obviously focus a little bit more on defense because you weren't great defensively in that game against Michigan State. Gave up 87 points. Vermont's better, than most, out of conference teams you're going to face, but they're still not a team that's as good as they were last year. You had a close call. I'd expect Kansas to win pretty handily. This is not a game that's lined on your usual odds boards. What do you have on a number in this game?
The Vermont, Kansas, 22.5. Kansas at home.
You see, I would put it around there. That's kind of a good number, I think, for this game. I would probably have it around like 92-68, something like that. I think Vermont will get into the high 60s. I think Kansas will push 95 probably. So I think the number's probably right where it should be.
Big Man, another question, kind of a general college basketball question. Is Bet Online opening up the market this year? Have you noticed that?
As far as I remember, they usually are the openers in college hoops. And Dave Mason actually made that clear to me. They're usually the openers in every sport. And I think you know that, Drew. But yeah, as far as I can see, they have been. So yeah, I would, if you're looking for lines, I would go to them. As far as, Drew, maybe one or two others tonight, I think just kind of giving thoughts here. I think you look at 7-19, 7-20, Butler, Detroit. Detroit Mercy has a new coach, Mike Davis, comes over from Texas Southern. Very good coach. Coached for many years at Indiana. Has his son on the team, Antonio Davis. Good player. Dropped 30 in both their games to start the season. He was very good against Temple on Friday night. Butler's still got Kamar Baldwin. They're still a good basketball team. But the question is, have they improved defensively? There should be points in this game. Detroit Mercy go up and down. They don't play any defense. And they do have some scoring punch. You have a number around, low 150s here. I talked about Troy. I think they could be live tonight against Pittsburgh. But here, this is the thing, guys. This is what I think you should do. Pick out 4 or 5 games. You want to get involved, throw a couple shillings down on it, and track it. Just see how it goes. You want some statistical data. And that's why, for me, low volume has to be your goal. I mean, you have to try to change necessarily your tune and say, you know what, I struggle in the beginning of the season because maybe I'm playing too many games and maybe I don't have a particular edge. Figure things out. Get a little statistical data behind you where you can go off something. For instance, I had a play, Drew, on my first night, Illinois-Chicago against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is obviously down this year. They lost a ton from last year's team. They're really poor as far as inside rebounding. putbacks, things like that. And I thought it wasn't something they could exploit Illinois Chicago from. I also thought with Illinois Chicago's guards, they could definitely match what Notre Dame could provide. In that game, though, they had 20 more foul shots than Illinois Chicago did, and they lost by 17, getting 13 and a half. So it was kind of a tough one. I had 2 totals over the week last week, one of which Montana State Drew scored 35 points. That is not something that Montana State's known for. Montana State, if you know anything about them, they go up and down the court. So it's getting some statistical data and figuring out what these teams are. I think another game here, and I think this is a sharp game here. I think the sharpest bet on the board tonight, if you ask me, looking at this card and say, big man, what are you betting tonight? Which I'll be honest, I don't have a play tonight. If I had one, it would be Jacksonville State tonight against Penn State. The sharp play, if you look at this line movement, this is sharp money betting the Gamecocks here. If you know anything about Jacksonville State, they are bringing everyone back. Ray Harper is a terrific coach. The only guy they're not bringing back is Norturbis Giga, a Lithuanian. Other than that, everybody's back. This is a team that prides themselves defensively. Penn State lost a lot of talent last year. You lose guys like, Shep Garner. You also lost, 1 or 2 other players as well. You bring back Lamar Stevens, but that's about it. This is a dangerous team, Jacksonville State. They're coming in. They're getting a good amount of points here. They're always going to hold themselves defensively. Penn State could have some trouble tonight. Don't knock out the Gamecocks. They could be live, and it's a sharp side. This line movement is clear, sharp action on Jacksonville State.
I mean, I'm just doing absolutely blimp view handicapping of this. I do see Jacksonville State lost by 20 points to Samford, so I'm guessing Samford's really good, big man?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting – that's actually a point that I was hoping you'd bring up. Samford, I think, is a pretty good team, and I think that's something that I think we have to remember. I don't think they should lose by 20. That's kind of a knock there, and it could have just been one of those games. But I just look at from a standpoint of talent. I think coming back, Jacksonville State's got some really good players. I just don't think they really shot the ball particularly well. They just struggled to get stops. In the second half, they actually were in the game. They just unfortunately had a bad start in the game and were down 19 and a half. But you look at the second half, Drew, it was 45-44 in the second half. So they finished quite well, I thought. It was just a bad start in the first half by Jack.
Makes a lot of sense. It was on the road, first game of the season. I don't know if I put too much stock into it either. We got Mike asking, hey, guys, I got Pitt and Jesus. What? I'm terrible at speech. How do you say? Huh?
What was that? I didn't see what he said.
Pitt and Duquesne. Duquesne. I knew it. Yes. Man, speed at parlay. What do you think? One, I would say don't parlay non-correlated bets. But do you have anything on Pitt Duquesne?
Yeah, and Pitt, I think, is a tough spot because are we ready to annoy Pittsburgh as a team that can win against teams like Troy? Because this team's not good. I mean, they're the worst team in the ACC by a large margin. Troy's actually a decent team. Jordan Varnado is a terrific player. He's the best player in the court in this game. Should they win? They should, but I don't think it's one that I'm staking a ton of money on. As far as Duquesne tonight, I also think it's a tough spot. I think both opponents are tough. I don't think Illinois Chicago is indicative of what we saw in that game against Notre Dame. This is much more level that I think they're favorable on. Illinois Chicago's got great guard play. They always have. Tarkus Ferguson's a great player. I'm starting to believe more in Keith Dambrot's team. One thing about Duquesne, they're going to shoot a lot of threes. That's what Dambrot's teams do. If you look back at Penn State, they were a big three-point shooting team. It's really for what they win or lose on is if they make three balls. Or back at Akron, not Penn State. Keith Dambrot was at Akron. But I don't know. I think that's more kind of on the level for Illinois Chicago. And I think one thing is key, Drew, in this business. When you're betting college basketball, don't develop this mindset of, oh, they beat me the first game. They beat me 2 straight games. I'm not going back to the well with them. If a team's not beating you 6 or 7 times badly, I wouldn't be doing that. Like a team like Illinois Chicago tonight, I just think this is too many points for Duquesne. I think this game, it wouldn't surprise me if this game's decided by foul shots late, Duquesne get the job done. I don't know that I see 6.5, 7 points difference. You also have to point out, Drew, in their first game, Duquesne, they shot 61.5% from the foul line. This may come into factor late in this game.
That's a great point, big man. And we are running long, guys. And if you give us some thumbs up, some likes, if you're liking the content, that would help us out as well. We would appreciate it. Great point on if a team beats you and you had the right play, you feel strongly about it, don't let a loss, 2, 3, even throw you off. Just keep going. Like the Utah-Oregon game I brought up in the beginning. It was the right side. It played towards the under. For whatever reason, it did go over. Guess what I'm betting this week? Already got it in. Utah, Colorado under the total. I think that the problem, Utes going forward.
Yeah, you have to stick with Drew, and I think that's a good point. You have to stick with what you think works. Here's the issue in this game for Illinois Chicago are the first two games indicative of what they are on the defensive end? Because they gave up 84 against Notre Dame, and they gave up 88 against Radford. Now, keep in mind, I think Radford is going to win the Atlantic Sun this year, so is that bad? No. But they have this game tonight, and then they got to go and take on William & Mary, Drew. William & Mary are one of the more elite teams in the country last year offensively. So you have a possibility of giving up. You got to find a way to fix this defense right now if you're UIC. And was those first two games, were they indicative of what this team is? They're going to give up a lot of points, and they're not going to, they're going to score points. That might be a decent over tonight in this game. Duquesne, Illinois, Chicago. Illinois, Chicago hasn't shown much that they can get stops. The question is, can they keep up with Duquesne? I'm willing to think they can.
Cool. Well, good stuff, big man. Didn't think we'd have a lot but you brought up some great points, man. So hopefully we help some people get on the right side here. Anything else you want to throw out before we got to shut this down?
Drew, at the end of the day, all you have to do sometimes you cannot judge someone by wins and losses. Sometimes you just get a little unlucky. Now, I don't think my start's unlucky. I haven't been good in college football, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep firing, and I know you will too. I'll have tough starts, but I don't think there's anyone on earth that can do what I just did on the air. I don't. My college basketball knowledge is as good as anybody. It's really about just getting some notes taken down and figuring out what these teams are early in the season. So Drew, it's November 12th. College basketball won't end until April. It's a long time.
Yeah. No, your college basketball knowledge is up there with anybody, big man. I appreciate it. I learned a lot from you. And I'll tell you what, I was looking at your Twitter, and I watched one of your little what's that called? Periscopes. You just started talking for about 20 minutes. I loved it, man. It was good. I learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Just taking it as far as possible.
I'll just try to share the knowledge I have, man. Try to help other people. Drew, I'm very candid on these shows, and I'll continue to be candid. I get there are people out there that don't like me or what I'm about, but when I was a kid, Drew, my mother once told me, don't let anyone take advantage of you. Don't take shit from anybody. And I've always been like that. I don't take shit from anyone, and I give what I get. You've always been nice to me, and I'm going to be nice back to you. But when you start, I saw some of the people in the chat earlier. They're just very mean people in the world right now. I got people telling me to kill myself on the internet. I mean, it's the internet at the end of the day. We need to start remembering that. I get there's people out there that don't like me or don't like you or whoever, but we're all people at the end of the day. So let's just try to be nicer. I know I have to work on it too. Let's try to be nicer to everybody. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's well said. And yeah, on the chat box, guys, feel free to say whatever you want. Drew, your picks suck. That's all okay. Just throw it out there. But when you start getting personal and saying racial or anything violent or anything like that, or too personal and mean, then it gets a little weird. So then you got to kind of say what's it called, big man? Settle down a little bit.
You got to settle down, Drew. I mean, listen, when you start involving, telling people to kill themselves and stuff like that, I mean, that's a little crazy. I'm not going to ever do that. I'm going to keep, because you know what, Drew? You know what bothers these people the most is that I keep getting on here and I'm not quitting. I ain't going nowhere. I run this shit, and I know that, and I'm going to keep running this shit, and so are you, because that's what bosses do, Drew. Bosses stand the fuck up. People watch bosses. Bosses don't watch people. I'm a leader. I'm not a follower. I don't follow you. You follow me. That's how life works. And Drew, we're leaders. That's what we do here. We are the ones that figure things out. They aren't. We are.
Big man.
We take that.
Well
Yes.
said. Well said, big man. Good stuff, bud. I appreciate SBR and Drew and all the folks. Junior, thank you, man. Thank you to Big Man on campus.
Hey, Drew.
Big man. Yeah.
Last thing. As Walter White
Yeah,
once said, I am the one who knocks. That's who I am. I'm not the one who answers the door. I knock, Drew. That's what we do here. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to our producers. Thanks to SBR for giving us this forum. I love it. I love doing shows with you. It's always fun. We have an open forum. I got to get a haircut because this sits too long. Have a great day. See you later.
Best of luck to you, big man. Remember, don't go just betting UCF blind. Cincinnati might get him this weekend. And best of luck with your bets. We'll see you on Thursday, 4 o'clock Eastern. Asher Wildman will join Big Man on Campus and I for student section. Also, Roundtable, Wednesday morning, 10 a.m., one of the best shows on. Thank you, SBR. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Best of luck with your bets.
Thank you.
Peace.